All right, guys, my name is Tyler Nanogenix, and today let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Episode 67 with new hope in our hearts. Farewell, Trunks. Okay, guys, so before we actually start talking about this episode, two things. One, holy crap, a lot actually happened in this episode. I think a lot of people were thinking this was going to be more filler, and actually there was so many things that went down in this episode too. If you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button, and if you guys are still very excited about me doing these super reviews, definitely smash that like button. So let's hop in, let's talk about Super Episode 67. The Spirit Sword, of course, is how we begin this episode off. Trunks still has the Super Sword and is still slicing through Zamasu. And of course, Zamasu just becomes this just blue-like light and just kind of fades away. But then Goku comes over to Trunks and actually confirms that it was indeed a Spirit Bomb. Now, we all assumed that anyway because Spirit Bomb was, of course, floating over Trunks' head, and everyone would kind of have this aurora around them, kind of similar to when they are helping out with a Spirit Bomb. So Goku did go ahead and confirm that for us today on episode 67. And then after that, everyone is, kind of rejoicing. And then all of a sudden, this just like red beam, boom, out of the ground. Zamasu is back, but not in his human form. He is this new kind of thing. And so he goes up into the sky and it starts covering the sky. And of course, I think one of the craziest things here is just the atmosphere that this sets up. With the laughs and everything is just crazy. And the laughs are very similar to that of the Jokers. Like seriously, I think the whole time I was watching the episode and all this was going on, Zamasu's laugh was entirely making me think of the Joker. Anyway, so he's filling the skies, he's filling the atmosphere with himself and this new basically form he's taken on. And Goku is like, no, we got to do something about this. So Goku goes Super Saiyan Blue, and then boom, he snaps out of it. And Vegeta's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, come on. So Vegeta goes Super Saiyan Blue, and then boom, snaps out of it. And Supreme Kai's like, yeah, you can't sustain Super Saiyan Blue because you use Final Kamehameha as Vegito. That's kind of weird. Like, I get that was a very powerful attack, but if it was so powerful, then why didn't he snap out of Vegito Blue after he used it as well? So that was definitely a weird thing. I mean, I get that obviously it expended a lot of energy to do the Final Kamehameha. That is an incredibly powerful attack, and I would be willing to bet, obviously power is such a weird thing in Dragon Ball already, but I would be willing to bet it's probably the strongest attack in all of Dragon Ball. I mean, it's Vegito Super Saiyan Blue doing a final Kamehameha, but definitely note down in the comment section below, what do you guys think about that? That was something that was very interesting to me, and if you guys haven't watched, at least let me know, what do you think about final Kamehameha being so powerful that it apparently made it to where Vegeta and Goku, at least for right now, without any sort of power resurgence, cannot go Super Saiyan Blue. So Trunks is like, yo, guess what? I can still go Super Saiyan, so let's do this. He goes Super Saiyan, and we get something that, again, I think is a huge deal as far as fan service goes. And I keep saying this, I know there are a lot of people that maybe aren't digging Super, but I still think you have to appreciate the fan service that they are doing here. We got to see a final flash from Vegeta, a Gallic Gun from Trunks, and a Kamehameha from Goku all at one time. Now, granted, they are not effective. We see this happen. It's pretty epic. I'm not gonna lie, like that was one of the more epic moments for me in this particular episode, was seeing the three of them do that. But then guess what? Nothing happens. They shoot it up into the sky against Zamasu's kind of cloud thing that's going on, and then nothing happens. It doesn't do anything. So it was really cool to see that happen. But and obviously we knew like that's not going to do anything to this godly, whatever you want to call him. It's Zamasu assuming a brand new form. Anyways, so after all that happens, a tri-beam, if you will, Guasu says Zamasu might be trying to become the universe. He's cast off his form as a god and is trying to become justice and order itself. So he's trying to he's trying to go ahead and complete the Zero Mortals plan, and just at the expense, I can't think of the word I'm trying to say here, but basically at the cost of his own body and all that, he's going to just finish this right here, right now. So Zamasu shows a scene of Zamasu completely covering the earth, and then we have his like creepy Joker-like grin. That's all we can see covering the earth. It almost looks like a Zamasu moon or something. through this whole thing, we can still hear him laughing, like in the background. Like, it's not something like, I don't know if you didn't, if you don't have, I listened to this, I watched this on my computer with headphones on. I don't know if you didn't have headphones on, if you wouldn't have been able to hear it, but the whole time in the background is a very faint laugh. Even when it's super far in the background, you can still hear Zamasu just creepily laughing. And it just set up this crazy atmosphere through this whole first half of this episode that made me actually really enjoy it a lot. Like, it really set up an atmosphere of feeling like how everyone felt. And you know, the Z Fighters felt through this of like, you know, like this is very eerie. Anyways, so Zamasu's covering the entire Earth, and after he covers the entire Earth, these beams start coming down, and Goku and Trunks and Vegeta all have to kind of like fend off these beams. And anyways, at that same time, we switch over to Whis noticing you know, like this, he's like, I sense an unpleasant energy, and we see kind of a slit in the universe kind of starting to tear open, and all of the fighters in our universe are can see it, and like, and Whis and Beerus are like, yeah, what is going on right now? So that's kind of crazy that whatever Zamasu was doing, whatever kind of energy output he was doing, we could see it in our universe, and our, I guess it technically is our universe, but our timeline. Like, that was crazy. It was bleeding through timelines there. Anyways, so after that, Trunks then notices, we go back to the future, and Trunks notices that he can no longer sense the energy from all of the people that he got the energy from for his Spirit Bomb, Spirit Sword thing. And Mai absolutely loses it. I mean, again, this is a very, we're gonna get to it in a second, but this was a very even emotional episode, even though it was kind of the wrap up to the Trunks arc. It was a very emotional episode even then, because, you know, Mai is just freaking out. Like, basically, you've already taken so much from us, and now you've taken even more, Zamasu. Like, how? Like, how can you do this? And so she's like sitting there unloading until there's no more ammo left. I don't know why I'm like double tapping over her, but unloading her shotgun until there's no more ammo left. And anyways, so this whole time, the Zamasu laughs are still in the background, and it's freaking crazy. But then Goku's like, we need sensu beans. We need sensu beans. We need to do something. And so he's looking for sensu beans. He's like, wait, what is this? And it's the Zeno button. It's, of course, the button. I think most people, especially if you read the titles, most people were already assuming that the Omni King was going to come down and finish this off. And so he's like, hey, Supreme Kai, like, there should still be an Omni King in this future, right? In this timeline. And he's like, well, yeah, no one should be able to kill the Omni King. So he presses the button. Boom! There he is, the Omni King, right there. And he comes down and he's like, who are you? And Goku's like, I'm Goku. And he's like, did you do this? And he's like, well, no, he did. And the Omni King's like, he's annoying. And so then the Omni King starts starts spinning with like these beams coming out of his hands. And Goku's like, yo, Supreme Kai, Guasu, get out of here. Yo, Bulma, get the time machine going. Trunks, Bulma, hop in. Goku and Vegeta go and hop on one of the legs. And then we're back into the normal timeline with Trunks and Mai this time. So we've got young Mai and future Mai meeting, which is kind of weird, kind of cool for that to actually happen, given we spent so many episodes with just Trunks in our timeline and Mai's still back in the future. So that was actually a pretty cool moment. I actually really enjoyed that. So anyways, so Zeno basically, especially from some confirmation over on Twitter, from I think it was Geekdom I saw, confirmed, Geekdom or one of the other guys that tweets out all this stuff. I'm sorry, I'll try and figure out who it is and put it down in the description, because I want to give credit where credit is due. But pretty much confirmed what it looked like when Trunks and Goku go back to the future to get, we don't really know what they're going for, but essentially he's going back to get Omni King. Pretty much confirms that Omni King not only destroyed Zamasu and the Earth, but essentially that timeline is no longer existent. So that's kind of weird. That's kind of a weird thing. Again, this episode, so much happened and so much confusing stuff. It was kind of hard to actually keep up with. So anyways, so Zeno, Omni King, what do you guys want to call him, destroys that timeline. Goku brings him back and is like, hey, I'm going to take you somewhere, and takes him to the current Omni King. So future Omni King with current Omni King. And that's the friend that Goku promised to the Omni King so many episodes ago. I think we all assumed it was going to either be Goku going and hanging out with him or something of that nature. But it's Omni King hanging out with Omni King. So that's actually pretty cool. It's because he's such a cool character anyways. He's kind of so mysterious and he's funny, and like I really like the Omni King. But anyways, on top of that, we found out that the high priest that hangs out with the Omni King, or not hangs out, but is up there with him, is Whis' father. Like, that is that is some pretty big info. So anyways, all that's going on, and we get back, and all the Z fighters are eating. And let me make sure. Let me go ahead and look at my notes. Let me just go ahead and make sure I'm not getting too far ahead of myself here. So Wheeze does say, I can take you guys back to your timeline, talking to future Mai and future Trunks, and they're like, even though it's been destroyed, and Beerus is like, yeah, no, Wheeze, you can't do that because that'll create another time ring. And Wheeze is like, well, Beerus, you kind of already did that yourself when you killed Zamasu. You created a time ring yourself, so how can you call out Trunks and Mai for wanting to go back to their timeline and me offering it to them when you already have done the same thing? Because Beerus' concern was obviously, how are we going to explain this to the Omni King creating another time ring after finding out that the other Omni King that he's now hanging out with, the future Omni King, just fixed this mess that we created. But then of course Wheeze is like, Beerus, how dare you basically sit here and try to patronize me doing this when you've done the same thing? So then, like, well, wait, how can you guys go back to the future and take care of Zamasu? I think actually Bulma's the one that brings that up. Bulma's like, yeah, but if you guys go back to the future, we're still gonna have to deal with Zamasu. And then Kid Trunks is like, yeah, we're gonna have to go through all this again. I think most of us would be like, yeah, actually, let's see this all again, and let's have more Vegito Blue. And yeah, but anyways, Whis is like, well, no, Beerus, I'll just go back. We'll get a hold of Beerus before Supreme Kai is killed, and Beerus will take care of him. And then Vegeta's like, but that will just do the same thing, and we'll have a whole nother alternate Zamasu probably come to the future or whatever. That's where all this is. It's so like weird when you start messing with all these futures. We've got the present, we've got the future, we've got separate universes, we've got different timelines bleeding into other timelines, which is how, of course, we got a Goku Black and a Zamasu together in one timeline. So much weird stuff going on here. But Whis is like, well, yeah, but I have a containment or some sort of containment ability or something that is much better than your Mafuba with your urn. So, and they're like, what? Why didn't you do that before? Anyways, but then I guess we don't really talk on that. But then Whis is like, but just so you're aware, there will already, because the way I'm taking you back, so now you guys exist outside of your own timeline, which is still so strange. Just so you know, there will be a duplicate Mai and a duplicate future Trunks now. So essentially, in the current Dragon Ball Super timeline, we are going to, moving forward, have a future Trunks and future Mai that have been through all of this that we've been through, but then there's also going to be future Trunks and future Mai that haven't been through the entire Zamasu Goku Black arc. So it's getting so weird. It's getting so weird moving forward. And then all that happens, and we see a Gawasu going to put up another time ring, a green time ring, into the drawers of the big, like, just long, endless, what it looks to be endless drawers in that scene. And he puts it in there with the normal time ring, the normal one that we had been seeing Goku Black wear for this entire arc of Gawasu, or not Gawasu, but Zamasu. And then he puts it in there, and there's 4 others. So he's putting in a fifth green time ring, and then a normal silver original looking time ring. So definitely, I feel like there was some sort of reason for them showing us that. I'm not 100% certain what that was. I don't know if that had to do with the Trunks timeline. I don't really know yet. Again, I've only watched this episode twice now. I watched it once, and I watched it again to get notes so I could talk to you guys about it. Anyways, then we go back to where we are. With Trunks and Mai setting off in the time machine, and Vegeta kind of comes, and Vegeta, obviously his biggest way of showing his emotion is through fighting and so forth. I mean, that's kind of just a Saiyan thing. He does that, and that's a pretty good. As me as a big Vegeta fan, I really did enjoy seeing that happen. And then Trunks and Mai go ahead and get in the time machine and are going up, and Gohan and Piccolo come up, and Gohan is like, yells at Trunks, and that was a very emotional scene too. It made Trunks, kind of see this Gohan, see where this Gohan got to go, where he didn't get to in his timeline, see him with a family and all this other stuff. It was a very emotional scene. I will honestly admit, I think one of the best, outside of what we've seen in all of the series episodes, one of the best things is the Future Trunks movie with Gohan and stuff is just incredible. So getting to see that within Dragon Ball Super is very cool, and that part was very emotional. And then, of course, we see what's going on next week, which is summoning Shenron and who's going to get their wish. We won't really go too much into that because we'll talk about that next week once that episode airs. But anyways, guys, this episode was actually a lot better than I honestly expected it to be. I did enjoy this episode a lot, but there was just so much that went on. One of the coolest things, though, that I don't even know too many people agree was definitely seeing the Earth and seeing Zamasu's face kind of just on it, like, and it really did. It made me think of a moon, partially because the moon in Guild Wars 2 is when the Mad King is around during October, and I even think it did it back in the day of Guild Wars 1. It's been so long. But during the month of October, when they're doing the Halloween event, you see a face on the moon, and that's, so I know it's the Earth, but that's what it made me think of. I reference Guild Wars a lot on this channel. Guild Wars, I've spent many hours into Guild Wars and Guild Wars 2, so that's why I reference it so often. But anyways, that was my thoughts, my review, my overview, whatever you guys want to call it, on episode 67 of Dragon Ball Super. I hope you guys did enjoy this. I'm enjoying making these for you guys. Honestly, I'm kind of liking it. Just anything, I'm watching these episodes multiple times, really analyzing them and really truly understanding what all is going on in them instead of just passively watching them each week and week. So this has been really enjoyable for me. So like I said, if you are new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. If you did enjoy this, consider hitting that like button. But otherwise, stay tuned to the channel because we'll be doing more of this. We'll be doing, I don't know, I'm trying to think of ways we can branch out even more than just gaming stuff with Dragon Ball. So for sure, stay tuned to the channel because we're gonna have a good time. But anyways, you guys have a great day. Keep on keeping on. Nanogenix are signing off, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.